The surging road accidents, that continues to be a source of worry for the nation. And as the nation continues to work at solutions, the National Road Safety Authority has recently issued some 5 directives to commercial passenger transport operators who are providing intercity services. According to the National Road Safety Authority, these directives are aimed at improving the quality of service and reducing road traffic crashes, as well as other attendant issues. So what are these directives, and how are the promulgation of the laws going to be so we can deal with the carnage on our roads? For more of this, I am joined in the studio to have a quick conversation with Daniel Waku, who is a Deputy Director of Programs with the National Road Safety Authority. Mr. Waku, thank you very much for your time. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, so let's help us with a summary of these directives. 5 of them you've indicated.
Okay, let me put the whole thing in some context.
Help us.
We have identified that there is some upsurge of crashes going around the country. So that we identified a problem. In January alone, we have lost more than 80 people. In fact, 86 people through road traffic crashes. And so we have been conducting some investigations into some of these crashes.
Okay.
And we have noted that a number of these crashes involve high occupancy buses. High occupancy buses. So, out of the investigations, we have realized that we had enforcement challenges, we have environmental challenges, we have institutional and systemic challenges or failures, and then individual challenges or driver challenges that came out of this investigation.
Okay.
Now, the National Road Safety Authority, as the body responsible for the coordination and the development and then regulation of road transport or road traffic or road safety issues in this country, decided to attack these challenges. In fact, we all will remember that the Minister of Transport, even last year and even the year before, have been having consultations with the transport operators, and he has even issued some directives. So some of these directives that we have come out with now are part of what the Minister
of Road and Transport put together. Let me just indicate that we also have Godfred Abodere, who is the General Secretary of the GPRTU, Ghana Private Road Transport Union, also on Zoom, joining us in this conversation. Mr. Godfred, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Hello, Godfred, can you hear me? Okay, we'll raise him back. I just wanted you to know that he's also part of this conversation. So, now, yes.
Which approach did we adopt? So we adopted the approach of what? Participatory approach. So we invited the transport operators, other stakeholders to a meeting. Let's discuss the issue so that we can get a consensus. It's very important to build a consensus in the approach, in the intervention.
So these directives, what exactly are they supposed to do that's different from what they were doing before?
That's what I said, that we have challenges, for example, enforcement challenges, the institutional challenges.
Yeah, and based on that, you are asking them to do something.
Yes.
What are these things that you're asking them to do?
Through out of our investigation, we realized that driver fatigue was one of them. Driver fatigue was one of the challenges that was causing a number of these crashes. High speeds was one of them. Poor perception and management of hazards by drivers. We also identified that a lot of drivers were doing wrongful overtakings. Now, there are responsibility on car owners or even institution of bus operators, for example, to ensure that a bus traveling from here to Woku should have 2 drivers.
So that's one of the directives.
That's one.
That a bus going a long journey must have 2 drivers.
Yes.
Isn't that something that's already been practiced?
So out of the investigations that we have done, we have come up with this directive to address the findings that we have.
Yes, and I'm saying that
from the investigation.
I'm saying that with one of the
first directive, for example, it has to do with what? Regulation 118, and the regulation 118 in the LI 2180 states that a driver must not drive for continuously 4 hours without resting. So if you drive for 4 hours, you must take a rest, at least 30 minutes before you continue. Now, if you are driving from here to Tamale, it's more than 4 hours. So if you don't want to rest, what do? You take an additional driver.
So my question was is that something that we're already not doing?
They were not doing it. Some have been doing it. Some of the transport operators have been doing it. I don't really want to mention names, but...
That's okay. So now, is there a way to enforce this? Because one of the key problems is enforcement. So it can be a directive.
Yes, that's why I said the approach we adopted was participatory. They came. We all agreed that this is the way forward. Okay. So we have to do this. Okay. So for example...
Let me just jump in there and bring in Mr. Abodere again, who is joining us now on phone. Mr. Abodere, can you hear me? Okay, thank you very much for your time. So I'm just talking to the National Road Safety Authority, and they're talking about participatory approach to dealing with the problems that we have on the road. Have your people received these directives?
Yes, we were represented at a meeting, so we have it.
All right. Okay. So, Mr. Wako, I want you to finish with me so that I come to him about implementation.
All right. The second directive, for example, is the continuous professional development of the driver. Drivers, according to the law, Regulation 125, drivers are supposed to go through professional training, refresher training every year, so that they can get abreast with the use of the roads in a more safer way. The third directive is to enforce the use of logbooks. It's also in the law, Regulation 118. The logbook, for example, addresses the speed at which the vehicle moves. It also addresses the resting time of the driver, if the driver rests. So if you take off from Accra at 6 a.m. and you arrive in Kumasi at 10 a.m., the logbook will tell you that the speed at which you move was inappropriate.
I see.
Yes.
Interesting.
So the logbook is there to address the speeding of the vehicles. Okay. Because we have realized that high speed was one of the causes of the crashes. Then the next directive is the fourth one, is pre-departure checks. Now, it is very, very important that before a vehicle takes off, we ensure that the vehicle is in good condition. Now, we have had an agreement with the transport operators, for example, to identify road safety officers at the lorry station so that we train them, so that before the buses move, we don't have to, but they themselves will ensure that these buses that are going to move people from Accra to wherever they are going, or from Kumasi to wherever they are going, they are in good standing before they move out.
Let's stay with the fifth one, then I go to the GPRT.
Yes, and the last one is enforcement of the regulation of it's required that the operators with vehicles of gross weight over 5 tons, they are fitted with retro-reflective tapes.
What is that, sorry?
These are yellow tapes that we fix on buses or vehicles above the tons of 5 tons. Okay. Now, the use of the retro-reflective tape is this. In the night, it reflects so that it makes visibility of buses more easy. Okay. So that when the vehicle, for example, is broken down on the way and there's a retro-reflective tape behind the vehicle, if an approaching vehicle throws light on it, it shows that there is something
before they even get close to it. Okay. GPRTU, let me bring you in. It's very nice to have something like this on paper and then we know what it is. We've had a lot of that already. How is the GPRTU looking to implement this at your local levels? Hello, Ms. Abodere?
Yes.
Yes. I'm asking about implementation of these directives. What plans have you put in place to implement these directives?
Well, good evening for having me. And let me just say that we were represented at a meeting, but we also have some concerns which we intend to put them up to the National Safety. Okay. Looking at all the things they have itemized for the implementation, they are all not new. There are already existing laws which were there, but they were challenged by implementation. So now that road safety wants to implement them, the first thing is that they would have a stakeholder meeting with GPRTU that has the largest driver sector in the country.
But that's what they've done, isn't it?
There is no. That's not it. I said we're given only one member representation.
Okay, so you want the Road Safety Authority to now meet with the bigger group?
Exactly.
Okay.
That was what should have even been done before the third meeting.
Okay, and then what again? So that we can take a response from Mr. Waku here.
Good. Apart from that, the rest of the things are issues. I think there are regulations which are even already there, and some drivers are on it and some are not. Myself, I have my pass, which I have 2 drivers inside. So they are not new as well, but the timelines given for the implementation is what I think we GPR2 are going to write our opinion to the road safety for them to reconsider.
The timelines you're talking about, let me just ask, so you have an issue with you want them to first of all meet with the bigger group, that's number one. Secondly,
yes,
you also have concerns with the timelines that they've given. What is this timeline and why do you have a problem with it?
Yeah, the first thing is that they are mentioning 1st of April. 1st of April? Yes, the first one said 1st April, they will implement the first one. Which is the issue about the 2 drivers in every long-term bus. Yeah, that's more than a month. Come again? That's more. That means they're giving you more than a month to plan. Yes. That's okay, isn't it? Yes, that's why we said we need to meet and then write some concerns to road safety. Okay. For them to relook at it. But deal with it. If we also have certain issues we can even help in these directives. Okay, all right. Yeah. Because I've actually run out of time, so I'm just going to leave the conversation here. Mr. Waku, I want you to respond to some of the concerns that he has raised. I think they like the idea, but I think they have some concerns about the time. I'm very happy even to hear that they like the idea. In fact, the body language even at the meeting was that it was a good thing that we wanted. Yes, yes, but then now, they want you to help them to help you. As I said earlier, this is not the very first time that we have brought this thing up. The minister himself called meetings. But then this is the time you're looking to implement it by bringing these people in, which is great. That is why we did not just sit in our office and send it out, which is great. But now they are saying that if you could expand the engagement. This is a good sign that is coming from them. Okay. These are areas that we have or we can even exploit. Right. If that is, if they are, in fact, it's not that if they are the bigger size. Okay. So we can still continue with this, engage them, and then ensure that all these things are put in place and enforced, because it goes to help the Ghanaian. It goes to help everybody. Okay. It doesn't affect you, it affects a family member. So I think that this is a conversation we can have again, maybe after you have had your second meeting. Mr. Abodere, I don't know if you have any final words to put on this because of my time. Do you want a final word on this? 30 seconds. Can you do that for me? Yes, I think the key word is just that our members, whichever way they implement it, at the tail end, we will be the beneficiary of all whatever is been stated as issues to implement. Okay. And you heard me say earlier that they are not new. All of them, they're not new. It only lacks the enforcement aspect of it. And I think for now, when they engage us to a meeting, we'll even suggest even better ideas to add in terms of implementation. So I think basically our request about our engagement with GPR2 in order for us to get more meaningful ideas to implement them. Mr. Abodere, thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you again after you've had your meeting with the GPR, with the Road Safety Authority. Mr. Waku, how soon will you be meeting them? Oh, we give them 1 month to start this implementation. But they want to talk about it. Oh, we will. Therefore, we have to ensure that we meet this within the 1 month. Within the 1 month, and make sure that we stick to the timeline, because it's very, very important. We have already put in place monitoring mechanisms to ensure that these things are being observed. If they are not being observed, there are sanctions that will come up with it. That follow. Okay. So, do you have any final words as well for you? 30 seconds. Yes. Road safety affects everybody, and we must all take it seriously. And I'm happy that the GPR2 and other transport unions have come up and are ready to support the actions of the National Road Safety Authority and the Ministry of Transport in addressing the road safety issues. Finally, COVID is real. Let's observe the protocols. Sorry, COVID is real. Sorry, I'm just choking out on my words now. COVID is real. Let's observe the protocols.